Welcome Eve 2020. It's July 17th. I am Adderall here with a couple friends, Spod and Goran, but special guest today, Eros Ranger from TRC, the Rogue Consortium. How are you guys?
Great, how are you?
Jesus, Spod, cheer up.
Okay. I'm still at work. I'm allowed to be miserable.
That's right. No problem. Let's actually take care of some business first. We need to look at. Where is it? Proving grounds.
Which I really need to try at some point.
Yeah, these proving grounds have proved themselves already. I think yesterday I heard through some information from Ron, 50,000 matches have already taken place. 50,000, 5-0 in less than 24 hours. I'm sure it's higher than that now. We saw the likes of Mr. Hyde come back, play a few rounds. Zorvox, apparently. Now, Hyde hasn't been around for 4 years or something. So he was a really good streamer, PvPer. And I think he's the one who coined the term "know your station." He was also a CSM member at one point. But somebody was talking to him, and he was basically saying, "You can't talk to me. You don't know enough to talk to me. Know your station." Which I thought is that a very British thing to say?
I've heard it before, but I couldn't tell you where it came from.
I think that's hilarious. Anyway, so there's different players coming back to try this Abyssal Proving Grounds. It looked like they were having a good time, so we'll see if it sticks. And you're going to try it?
When I get 5 minutes and a ship. And a partner, actually. I haven't got anyone to go with.
Kind of sounds like a dance.
It is in a way, because you gotta be in sync with the other person if you want to do well.
Yeah, well, Proving Grounds doing well. That's 2v2 cruisers, and
I haven't gotten a chance to try it, but a few of my corp mates have been really into it.
Yeah, your corp is
Waffles, Snigwaffa.
Yeah, that makes sense then. All right, looking at the map today. Action still in Fountain. It looks like it's Dark Shines yesterday was telling his people that they never expected to hold Fountain. They have a whole coalition against one alliance, and so if they get moved out, if they get pushed out of Fountain, it wouldn't be an unexpected development. Clearly, the combat seems to be going that way as well. It might just be me, but just and the people I'm in touch with, but everybody I talk to in Imperium says morale is really high, and everything's like fun and going well. But when I look on the board and talk to some of the guys from the invading side, they also have a pretty high morale. They don't say it, but they just kind of show it. And the battles seem to be going their way. I think even just a few minutes ago in D4KU, there's a large, we'll call it Pappy contingency in there, either Horde, PL, or even some test maybe, are in there, and there's no sign of the Imperium, so they're not coming to defend that.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
What the hell is Pappy?
It's a name that was coined to cover the mega coalition that's attacking the Imperium.
It's a combination of Pandafam and Tappy.
And Tappy. Because Villy settled once and for all whether or not we call the alliance Tappy by objecting to it.
By objecting to it. That's pretty funny. All right.
once you let people know that calling it that annoys you, they'll go out of their way to annoy you.
Let's have a look at the geography of Fountain. I believe it is. There's like a northern fountain, and then there's a southern fountain.
Yeah, there's a northern fountain, and then there's the fountain core of Serpentis NPC space.
And are those in the middle? I can't tell yet.
Yeah, the NPC space is mostly in the middle.
That's why it's so deadly, isn't it? Because if you're in the middle of Fountain, you have jump range to the north and the south, so you can pick which way you go.
Yeah, like a lot of blops and dread bombs like to use that space. Like, I think that might have been where that big Rorqual massacre back in November was staged out of. I'm pretty sure that was, since that was in Fountain.
Yeah, where the Locust fleet lost 50
Yeah.
Rorquals mining ships.
Yeah. I think it was 54.
54, yeah. That makes sense. So the battle today appears to be in DF or D4K. And I don't know, momentum's all on an invading side, although there was pretty good resistance at first. Strong show of force, super capitals were out. Those teeth aren't being shown so much anymore for Fountain, for Initiative. I'm not sure why. They may be just...
Yeah, there was that fight a few days ago where they lost a fleet of carriers, which, even though they have a decent amount of wealth and can replace that has to have been a blow to their morale and momentum.
Yeah, yesterday we were talking to Headliner, said that kind of changed the whole landscape of what was possible. That was in LTAC A, and they lost 50, again, like 54. No, 54 were trapped. They lost about 40 carriers. So not a good... And they lost 40 and they couldn't really out-escalate. And that was probably the bigger problem. I think it was said at the time, like, we're not jumping into that mess. That's a big mess. And but I think you don't jump into a mess because you could get tied down. If you get tied down, you could get clobbered. So the thinking is now they don't have the escalation superiority. In other words, if they drop all their equipment or all their ships, they win. That button isn't available to them. So now everything becomes a risk.
Yeah, even if PanFam can't bring the supers, because I don't know where they're deployed, they have plenty of dreads out there, and even if Initiative could win by dropping supers, they'd bleed enough that they wouldn't be able to do it a second time.
Yeah. And this is the new landscape of the war. It's really going to be interesting because you have a different series of nerfs, right? You had the resistances being dropped on modules that super capitals will use. Therefore, they're not as resistant to damage as they were. Their EHP, their hit points, have been reduced. But the most important of those is that they cannot be immune to destruction anymore. At a certain point, they were immune to destruction because you had enough logistics ships healing them up that whatever was being primaried in tie-dye was slow enough that people could concentrate and actually make sure they had enough, let's call it healing power, to keep them up. And they were essentially immune to being destroyed almost. And so I guess the redundancy nerf that hit faxes has really made it so that even if you have 1,000 faxes on the field, you can, at least with 50 dreads, I think you can kill something before faxes can actually rep it, because they have a diminishing return now that they didn't have before. So it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 or 10,000 faxes, 50 dreads will kill something. So now it becomes a dreadnought game, really. Like, dreads are going to take something. They may not win the field, of course, but that's why they're dread bombs. They're used as ammunition. You drop 50, you drop 100 of them, and they can really wreak havoc.
Yeah, and all the major alliances are now telling people to train dread alts. Like, I remember in Mitani's fireside after he declared they were retreating to Fortress Delve and Fortress Fountain. He mentioned that everyone should try to train into dreads with T2 guns. And then Dunk Dinkle and his Nada Soda around the same time said the same thing. For if people want to fly caps, that's the best one to train into. And all the major alliances seem to be saying the same thing about dreads.
Yep, those are the new.
Don't worry about
Spearmen.
supers and titans. Dreads are what you want to fly.
Yeah, they're the counter. In a weird way, they always have been, right? I remember in 2011, they're like, well, we pretty much know how to kill a Titan now. Just circle it with dreads and fire.
Dreads are like the meta all the time, right? It's like the answer for everything.
Yeah. Hey, Sully, how you doing?
Hey guys, so I'm a bit late. I was sorting out my bike.
No problem.
Yeah, the change up from dreads I think really did come around as well with high angle guns being removed from Titans. The high angle dreads as well are also now used a heck of a lot more.
And the short range ammunition Tick 2 buff.
That's
Dreadnoughts are usually fit with short range guns, so that really improved their damage.
Although also, I think there's another change. I don't know if it makes a big difference, but T2 ammo can be used on faction guns. Did you just say that?
I said the other relevant thing that Tech 2 ammo, it had a Tech 2 short range ammo had a damage buff.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so those two things, those are two different things. Because I'll tell you the truth, when they said ammo, T2 ammo can be used on faction guns instead of only T2 guns, I thought, ooh, I should buy a bunch of dread guns. And I did, but then I misplaced them. I don't know where they are. So I'll have to go find those.
Problem with the faction guns is they are quite expensive. They're mainly used on Titans due to the fact of lower CPU. I know firsthand the avatar is very tight for beam lasers. So pretty much every single avatar I know has faction beam lasers. And same with faction pulse, it just makes it easier to fit, but I still think they're a bit too expensive for suicide red bombs.
Well, then they can just stay lost. Whatever.
It's still worth a good amount.
Yeah, well, good, because I paid a little bit for them. What about the rest of the? What else can you tell us, Sully, about what's going on out there? Or can you update us?
So, did we mention D4's Asbel anchoring?
Pretend like I don't. I don't actually. Now that I think about it.
So, around about 5-6 days ago, a alt corp, self-proclaimed alt corp, anchored an Asbel red bomb production. That finished anchoring.
Sorry, originally we thought it was confused Chinese players that didn't know a war was going on, so we were joking about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is finished anchoring and it has been transferred over to Fraternity, so they now have possession of it. As far as I can tell, it is fully armed and operational. So it is one of a major, well, it's a minor victory for the attacking side and a major inconvenience for initiative, given that it now presents a safe place for tether and docking, as well as there is the possibility that it is used to produce dreadnoughts, which gives them a single undock use for a dread bomb. They can have as many in there as they need.
Interesting. So this is in D4K, right?
Correct.
So this is the,
D4KU-5.
the beginning of a beachhead here. You have like a little bomb factory in your key system there.
Yeah, a lot of the war has been focused for the northern side into D4, with it being right next to Hotpib where Pan Fam and Winterco are staged. So having the Echo in
And
there,
it's
is
it's the beginning of a pipe, so that you have to pass through there, and there's only one way in and one way out.
the range as well from D4 with Dreadnoughts is quite staggering for initiative. There has been, I think, NC, PL, and Pandemic Horde have definitely had an impact. Over the last couple of days, I've seen initiative not replace the jump bridges that were in here, as well as any signer jammers and beacons. I think that is on large effort just from Pandemic Horde and NC dot fleets and the rest of Pan Pan Winterco just constantly reinforcing them, attacking them, and forcing them to either come up and repair them or lose them.
Yeah, this is the
So-
jump range that I'm showing you. Those are all the systems that can be hit from D4KU, the first system inside a fountain. So basically all of the north.
Yeah,
Fountain.
and D4 originally had a jump bridge to IGE, which was Initiative's main stage system for this defensive part of the war. So it is a significant area of space that they can attack now, and it's going to hopefully, I say hopefully because I am unfortunately on the attacker side, but it will start to speed up this war, I feel, because there is now a safe citadel that is not a small one. Obviously, with the ADM changes that were introduced, I believe it was earlier this year, you can no longer anchor Astra houses and White Arrows and Athanors in systems with an ADM over a specific amount. So it forced large structures to be used, such as Asbels and Fortizars. So with this, there's a safe docking spot and tether spot now in Fountain Core. That is obviously not NPC space.
Wow. So your assessment is they're making inroads, right?
Yeah, I think at least from the fact that the Asbel was able to anchor, and Initiative from appearances obviously holding back jump bridges and Sino jammers. I believe they are holding them back more for timers than anything, because there is very little point in anchoring a Sino jammer for a day where it can just be attacked when you only need it for an hour or two. So I think they're strategically holding back their assets, and not just putting them on the field to be shot at. But I think the Asbel being anchored and now online is going to be a major thorn in their side.
Yeah, and here we thought it was somebody that was confused putting a structure up in the middle of a battle zone.
I mean, if they have this to spend and you could make dreadnoughts for both sides in one spot, I mean, it would be a good way in.
Well, this makes sense with what you were saying, Gagarin, that they're telling Horde to mine locally in that.
Yeah.
corner.
One of the big issues in getting set up was setting up local production, because relying on jump freighters means that everything is a lot more expensive out in Iridia, especially things that are low ISK per cubic meter, like Tech 1 ship hulls, which is how that whole meme about people selling cormorants for 35 mil came about.
Yeah, I can tell you from the southern front of the war as well, we have a production CTO set up in FAT, and I say that is for the same thing of moving these ships takes a large amount of resource, and T1 hulls especially are just, they are cost efficient to move if you can produce them. However, with Horde being so far away from their home, it really doesn't benefit them to build it.
Yeah. Plus, the logistics lines are feeling a lot of pressure from the Imperium, aren't they? Destroying a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so Jita is seemingly under siege from the Goonswarm ganking fleets. It is not impenetrable to pass. I will state that, but it is very difficult. Jump freighters do have to take a lot of extra precautions.
Are they
I've
killing?
had.
Are they killing everything or killing specific ships? Or
I think they're mainly targeting jump freighters. I've seen a couple of freighters be killed. However, I think they were more opportunistic valued ones. However, yeah, with that, my jump freighters personally have been targeted a couple of times, but I have methods in place so I can avoid being killed. Just
how do they? Are they identifying ships that belong to their enemy, or are they just wholesale killing civilians too? In that sense,
I think it's just wholesale killing. There isn't any strategic path that I can see from the jump freighters that have died in Jita. There have been a couple that have been related to allies of the south and the attacking force, but in generally, I think they're on the mindset of if they kill all of them, then they'll catch most of them, including Red Frog have lost a jump freighter to goons.
wow, Red Frog. Oh. But do Red Frog? They're a courier service, so if you need something moved that's big, you can contract it to them. They'll move it for you for a price. Do they work in wartime? Do they supply front lines?
So
They have a Black Frog, which is a corp in the Red Frog Alliance that specializes in jump freighters out to low-sec and null-sec.
yeah, they do have specific areas they operate. I know some alliances are blue with them, and so it's mutually understood that they can move out to those alliances space. Goonswarm obviously is not one of these alliances, hence the kills. But they mainly like to operate out of NPC Sov nullsec. That's obviously in jump freighter range. And let's say they're a good service. I've used them a few times over the years. Either when it's stuff that I just can't get, or it would take me too much effort, so I'm able to contract it out for the ISK. And let's say them dying is a shame because those pilots are inherently neutral in every war. They've never got involved in any politics, and obviously, it's them losing ships is never
Yeah.
fun because they provide a valuable service to Eve.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll.
Yeah, I know that
Go ahead.
Pandemic Horde is not neutral, is not blue with the Alliance, but is blue with the Black Frog Corp that does jump freighters out to nullsec. And I think a few renters in Geminate get stuff delivered by Black Frog.
Well, this is interesting because it plays into neutral people's anger towards civilians getting carpet bombed or bombed just because they're trying to kill something in there. Okay, anyway, very interesting. Anything else on the Sov War front?
I believe that's the majority of it. There's some iHubs in Fountain come out this evening, so I'll hopefully be able to keep an eye on them and see if there's any updates.
One point I missed, which was by taking over D4K and having that jump range, as you can see, that's what I have on screen. Gefrader, Yod said, reminded me that you can get to WY TAC in Serpentis. That's Fountain Core. That's this little white area here. That's the one system you can jump into from way down here at the bottom of Fountain. So what that means is you can essentially jump into the center, and the center is neutral. You can't be locked out of it. And that gives you really good positioning for the rest of Fountain.
Yep. That's why people like to be able to stage out of Fountain Core.
And I do believe one big swing in this war was, I believe there was a rather large dread bomb that was able to sneak into Fountain Core, because a couple of days ago we had a Pandemic Horde Ragnarok going around killing the structures. I believe it was inherently 100% bait, but obviously there was obviously a retaliation force around, and I think the proof was just Pandemic Horde had a decent sized sub-capital gang and then just a token Titan thrown in.
It's like driving a tank on the streets of your enemy city, waiting for them to try to do something about it.
Yeah, and if I knew anything about that, I wouldn't say anything. But yeah, the Pandemic Horde subcapital standing fleet has been doing it's as much as they can to make as many timers as possible in the pipe leading out from Hafib in both structure timers and in Tosis timers, so that the initiative can't defend everything.
All right, one last question to you guys. Since we don't have good representation from Imperium today, what are they doing that's working out for them?
So I've noticed a lot of the ADMs in these systems around D4 are still being maintained. They are slowly dropping, which is as you can expect for hostile gangs immediately in your area. But Initiative are doing very good at trying to maintain as much as they can and keeping the ADMs up. Obviously, the lower they fall, the easier it is to conquer. And with hostiles, as we speak, camping the gate, it's going to be very hard to maintain D4. But they are pushing their efforts and trying their hardest to delay the attack. I say delay in that obviously we are seeing progression towards the attack inside, but they are doing very well at making it a very hard attack in. I don't even think if D4 was to fall to the attacking force, I still don't believe it would be a huge
Cascade.
increase in pace.
Yeah.
I think it would still be a
The
very
same
hard
slog
fall.
for LTAC A, and then
Yeah,
since there are multiple paths through LTAC A, even though it gets to a couple more pipes, it might get faster for a little bit. But since there's only one path past D4K, it's going to be the same kind of slog probably.
yeah, there's very good defensive capabilities that go on.
All right. Thanks, guys. Now we're going to talk about Providence. Let's go there.
Cool.
This is an interesting week in Providence.
That's one way to put it.
Well, since
Do
yesterday,
you want to take that, Eros?
Sure. I mean, basically, it was just kind of it took over more space. In a nutshell, really. RC did.
Recking crew, that is. That's the.
Yeah.
I won't call you a coalition anymore. I talked to Rocket X about what you guys are, and it's a strange kind of like it's an alliance made out of alliances. It's a little more like that.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. We kind of tend to shy away from the word coalition because it's kind of a bad word.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really a coalition. It is more of an alliance made up of an alliances. But yeah, things have been interesting this week or over the past several months in Provi.
Okay, so from what I understand, you guys been hitting them pretty hard, kind of causing them to come out and defend themselves, which is what Providence is normally about. When there's an invading force, they usually vacation in Providence. How it used to be. In between wars, if you wanted to keep your members active, you would go to Providence to vacation. And what that means is you're not looking to do anything significant like take over their territory. You're there to just kind of relax the players, have some good fights, allow them to rat and relax. But that lasts for a few weeks, I don't know, a month maybe. So Nully used to do it, NC used to do it, there are other groups that used to do it as well. But traditionally, Providence has been a little bit of an area that is protected by a bigger group that sits next to it, usually in Catch or Impasse. It was AAA in like 2010. So Providence's role was an NRDS area where new players that don't have anything to do with anybody can go there and not get attacked even if they're neutral, because if they're not red, if they're not enemies, don't shoot them. That's the policy. It's the guiding ethos of NRDS. And so that allows you to come in here as a neutral and do some harvesting, do some exploring, do some would do some mining, but it doesn't allow you to just shoot anybody unless they're red. If they're red, you can shoot them because Providence in general keeps a kill on sight list. So if you're misbehaving in Providence, if you're a pirate and you shoot some people and kill them, you get put on their kill on sight list. So when you come into that area, you're attacked by anybody who's in that area, and then it's lawful. So they basically set up their own police force and their own patrol. And Provi Block, when we talk about Provi Block, is kind of like the army or the police that patrols and holds onto that area. What's happened recently, we haven't seen this before. I don't think we've seen this before. Normally people come into Derelict and they stage outside of Providence, and they come in and do some fleets and they go back out, or they live in Catch and do that. But Recking Crew has kind of taken up residence inside of it. Oh, you did have before that small groups like HTP, that's Honorable Third Party, and those guys would own a station or two inside of Providence, and they would do blops everywhere and that sort of thing. But this is more considerable. This is like a bigger group, and they've taken over the northeastern part of Providence. And then what have you guys been doing? You've been kind of like attacking their structures, making them come out and fight, that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, we originally Providence was a content farming for our guys, and it kind of expanded off that after HTP took YTAC-M, and they were holding on to it during the PL invasion and all that stuff, and it kind of just started expanding off of that. And then TRC took space, and then at the pocket up in the northeast, and then we just expanded off into the next pocket of EKI, HTAC-G. And then it kind of just went from there. I mean, the Kairos guys that live in the Masaba pocket in Losec with Arton basically started coming in and working on that side. And we expanded up into the south of Provi that way. And then when Care Factor disbanded,
just recently,
that was just a few days ago, we actually kind of got the heads up. And so we rushed in and took over the west side of the region.
So, Eros, do you know what's going on with Escape Velocity, since they were on the Dotland Alliance member changes map, but their name was completely blank with their Alliance logo?
As far as I know, I mean, Escape Velocity left a few weeks ago. We noticed them evacing out of Provi. And from what I was told is they went up with Legacy. And that's as far as I know with Escape Velocity. I don't know much more than that, but I know that they have basically just left Provi.
They look like a database error because you can't even access their alliance.
You're talking about Escape Velocity or loading?
Escape Velocity, if you look at Dotland on the Alliance movements in the past 7 days, they're on there, but their name is blank, but it's their Alliance logo.
There it is. Yeah, you have to go directly to them.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on there.
I mean,
they've dropped significantly in numbers, though, according to Dotland, which is
when I saw that, I logged in to check what was up, and it said they're in Caldari Militia now.
That's true. Yes,
I think they got fed up with everything going on in the region. So, I mean, they took a system, they were granted a system, and then really not very much long after that, they kind of just peaced out.
I think it was to do with they weren't too happy with. Well, that they left probably to go to Legacy just before the war kicked off, and they didn't seem to be wanting to get too involved with that, so they've moved on again.
Well, that was a problem. The war has casts a long shadow, and Providence hadn't decided which side they were going to be on, if any side. I think they were, oscillating or trying to figure out what they wanted to do. The Recking Crew is allied with Legacy, right? They helped each other defend Keepstar. I think they belong to Recking Crew, and they have old ties. Billy and
Are you talking about the Kamal one last year?
Yeah, the Kamal Keepstar.
Check OBS, see if you're still streaming.
Sorry?
Can you check OBS, see if you're still streaming?
Why is my stream out?
It's died. It's stuck
Check,
on
check,
loading,
check.
buffering forever.
Try again.